Hello, my name is Kim. I want to tell you about my experience with domestic violence. It comes in physical, mental and verbal forms. I was one of those people that said it won't happen to me. I wouldn't stand for it. But once you're in that situation, it's so hard to walk away. It took me 6 years. I didn't do it sooner because I thought he'd changed or that it was my fault. I didn't want to leave my flat and my family. I didn't know about refuges and I knew if I left he'd find me and kill me. I suffered the violent side of him about 5 times a week, all depending on his mood, if he didn't have cannabis, but verbally was every day. Sometimes he'd just throw things at me or smash up my property or our children's toys. One time he put a hammer through the door. Sometimes I just couldn't win. If I'd cooked dinner and he had to have it heated up, he'd moan, which led to him being violent. He was abusive to me throughout my 3 pregnancies. He knew which parts to hit. Only a few times he marked my face. Once he headbutted me in front of my 2 little boys, and the second time he bit my cheek. He also threw things at me. Otherwise it would be on the back of the head, or a few times he tried strangling me with a phone wire or dressing gown belt. Once I was hiding in the bathroom and he came in and was drunk. Suddenly he became really angry because he wasn't my first boyfriend and wanted to know who this was. I didn't dare tell him in case he got even angrier. He said to me, "Every time you don't tell me, I'm going to put my fist in your face." He kept punching my hands because they were covering my face. That lasted 45 minutes. On 5 occasions over a year, he kicked me and our 2 boys out. He didn't care what time it was or whether the weather was bad. Once he came home at 1 o'clock in the morning and he decided he wanted sex. He came and woke me up. I didn't want to. He was really rough and hurt me so much. Because I struggled, he grabbed my hair and dragged me round the flat, then pushed me on the floor, told me to get dressed, and told me I had 10 minutes to get myself and the kids out before he did it again. He went into the children's room, woke them up, and threw their coats at them and told them to get out. My boy is 6 now and still remembers that night. In the end, he abused and hurt me in front of my children. They were scared of him. Once we had a row and he pushed me on the floor and started stomping on my head. He did that knowing our boys were in the same room. One time I hid in the bathroom with my children and he came in with a knife and he held it to our throats. Every day I asked, why did he do all this? I didn't start the rows. Even when he decided to leave for 3 weeks, he would come round banging on the door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was forever a bag of nerves. I gave the children everything as long as it stopped them crying because I knew he'd start on them. He'd always threaten to beat them or do horrible things to them. It was like walking on eggshells. Eventually, after 6 years, I thought I can't take any more and left. He knew I was living with my family, with my 3 children. He'd turn up drunk. Even now my parents don't know about the violence. I had to go back to get my baby's baby walker. I told him there was no going back for us. He locked me in and tried setting fire to a rug. Eventually, when me and my 5-month-old got out, I went to find out about my choices, and that's when I found out about refuges. It's affected me and my children a lot. They are having counselling. They know why they can't see him and know they can live how children should. Before, they weren't allowed to play or eat messy food because he'd tell them off. They tell me, "We can have fun now, Mum." They can do things knowing nothing bad is going to happen to them. When we lived in the refuge, one of my boys used to sleep with his hat and slippers on because when their dad kicked us out before, I forgot to pack his shoes. He slept in them in case it happened again. I left my old flat with just me and my kids. It's been 2 years now and I've started everything again. It's not been easy, but at last I know my 3 children still have their mum. If I hadn't left, I knew their dad would have gone too far one day. People like that don't change. They are controlling and they are bullies. I've now learned that you only live once. You need to enjoy life. Everyone is entitled to be happy. No one deserves to live their life in fear. It says it all when you hear the saying, a leopard never changes his spots.